Okay, so look, so listen, I was talking to myself just now because I had myself on mute. Assalamu alaikum. Luckily, Brother Ziad, I see Brother Ziad and Brother Richard McKinney. I'm sure Brother Muhammad's back there laughing at me as well. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so listen, my name is Kenny Bomer, believe it or not, and this is Consider This TV, where truth is made clear from falsehood. And we have a special guest coming on today, Brother Richard McKinney. And if you haven't seen his Reasons to Revert story, if you haven't seen him in the media, you should look him up, Richard McKinney. Just briefly, he is a former Marine. He's a former Islamophobe. Okay, he is a former Islamophobe. He'll admit that to you himself. But now he is a Muslim. Alhamdulillah. I mean, we're going to hear some more of his story here in a moment as they're waiting backstage. Let me make a couple of announcements. As usual, what I usually do. The very first thing, as usual, I like to post the link for the Change for Change Foundation. If you'd like to donate to have a water well built. Today, alhamdulillah, we finally found a way to get the money to the brother with no hassle. So I recommend everyone if you ever send money to Africa, obviously the Change for Change Foundation is in Africa, in Ghana. And so we come across an app today called this. What's the name of this app? It's a new app. So let me. Okay, it's Sendwave. Sendwave. It's got a little penguin with his hand waving. So download this app if you ever need to send money to Africa, because I've been trying to send money to this brother for about 3 weeks at this point. So I tried sending through Western Union, the Western Union app. Didn't work. I did that two times. The money goes through, but he couldn't get it on the other side for some reason. Then I went to the Western Union office, and it didn't work. And we tried a few other apps, and it would not work. Couldnly, we got this app, Sendwave, and we was able to send the brother the money. The money that was sent to him was actually, if you remember, a few weeks back, the brother was stating that he needed a laptop and a projector for some youth development activities there in Ghana. And so I told the brother that we would try to get the money for him. And alhamdulillah, we did get the money for him. One brother in particular donated $1,000. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless that brother. And if he's listening right now, I don't want to mention his name because I want him to get all the blessings for the day of judgment. But brother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely records that. And we did get that money sent off today. Finally, we've been trying for 3 weeks. We just couldn't find a way to get it through. I spent three hours at the bank yesterday trying to get it to go through via bank transfer, wire to wire, or bank wire, and it would not go through. So for whatever reason, it's hard to get money sent to Ghana, but we finally got it done. If you'd like to donate for the Change to the Change for Change Foundation and get some more water wells built, realize the importance of this kind deed. Allah says, compete with one another as if in a race, doing good, righteous deeds. And this is a great way to stack up blessings for the day of judgment. It's sadaqah for everyone who utilizes these water wells on a daily basis for their basic needs. And so, inshallah, if you'd like to donate, click on the GoFundMe link that's posted in the chat, and any small amount will help that organization. We don't get any money from that. It goes all to the Change for Change Foundation for the causes there for that brother and for the organization. I say that brother Abu Bakr Siddiq Hussein is the founder of that organization. He oversees everything, but they do a lot of work there. They're very, very active in Ghana. And so if you'd like to donate, please do so, inshallah. So listen, before we bring Brother Richard McKinney on, let me make a quick announcement. We still have a debate coming up with Dr. Shabir Ali and Yaqub Singh, and that's supposed to be next Thursday, a week from today, at the same time. As a matter of fact, well, let me backtrack, because I mentioned yesterday the time might change for this debate, but nevertheless, it's still scheduled for next Thursday, a week from today, and they're going to be discussing the topic, who is Jesus, Christian versus Islamic perspectives. And that'll be at, right now it's still set at 6:30 p.m. unless something changes. Brother Shabir Ali will be coming on to debate Yaqub Singh, rather. So make sure you mark your calendar for that. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit like, hit share, and share the links to today's show. That way people who are non-Muslims can listen to this story from this brother and things that he's going to talk to the Muslims and non-Muslims alike about in regards to calling people to the truth and the beauty of Islam. And so with that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's bring the brother on. Brother Richard McKinney. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam.
It's good seeing you. Haven't seen you in person in a few months, but it's good. It's good seeing you.
Thank you. Good to see you too, Kenny. Always.
How have you been, brother? You been all okay?
I've been all right. I did a little bit of time in the hospital, and And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going for surgery on my shoulder.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be in a sling for about 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, let's want to tell them make ease for you. I did see that you was in the hospital. I sent you a message around that time.
Yeah.
And but it's good to see that you're out and you look good. And may Allah bless you for coming on the show to discuss this. Let me go ahead and bring in brother Ziyad and brother Muhammad. So assalamu alaikum, brother Ziyad. Brother Muhammad, assalamu alaikum to you as well. So, Brother Richard McKinney, I think you've talked to Brother Ziad before on the show, if I remember correctly. But I'm not sure if you've spoken to Brother Muhammad. So, Brother Muhammad is in Australia. Brother Ziad is in Greece. And Brother Richard, I forgot where you live. It's
Indiana.
Indiana, that's right. Alhamdulillah. So,
sorry, what did you say, Kenny?
No, I was saying that I believe that you've spoken to. I think you were on the show before, Brother Ziad, when Brother Richard McKinney came on. I can't remember if you did or not. But okay, so this is the first time. Well, brother, all these brothers just meet one another. Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so
good to see you, Brother Richard.
You too, brother. You too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this discussion here today. Obviously, this is a Dawah platform. It's mostly what we talk about is trying to break down misconceptions and misunderstandings about Islam, and trying to call people and share Islam to the best of our ability. And we engage in debates, and sometimes it gets people get a little worked up here or there. And but the objective is to do what Allah says and to invite to the way of our Lord with wisdom and kind words, and argue with people in ways that are best and most gracious. So a lot of the people that we deal with are Islamophobes. So, brother, I know you've told this story so many times at this point that I hate to burden you with going into it again, but maybe you can give however much detail you want to give about it. There's obviously people who haven't heard the story. For people who are watching right now, who may watch in the future, I do encourage you to go to the main channel, Kenny Bomer Live, Consider This TV, and look up the video for Brother Richard McKinney telling his reasons to revert story. And so, brother, let's go ahead and let you start with that, and we'll let you pick up at any point along your journey to Islam that you would like, and then we proceed from there, inshallah.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Kenny. It's a pleasure to be here anytime, man. I can't say enough. But really, my story is one that's born out of hatred. Okay. I for those who don't know, I'm a veteran. I am actually medically retired from the military after 25 years. They decided, nope, you got hurt one last time and we're done with you. So,
yeah.
They said, it's time to go. We'll give you a check every month, but you got to go.
That's how they do. They do athletes and soldiers like that.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah. So I was unhappy about it. I got injured in Iraq, and when I was in the hospital bed, people came in that and they tried to pump me up. Hey, man, you're going to be retired. VA is going to take care of you, man, and you're going to get this money, and you're going to get free medical, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, nah, I'm going back to Iraq. And they were like, what? Why do you want to go back to Iraq? Looked them dead in the eye and says, I'm not done killing Muslims yet. That's what I said. Well, long story short, you don't say stuff like that to people like that in that situation, because then all the special doctors come out.
Yeah.
So I got that little stamp of approval for that little outburst. But of course, I fought it to getting out. Didn't want to get out, but you see where I'm at. So that's fine. Believe me, mashallah, it all worked out because Allah had planned. And anyway, so I was left with just this emptiness. I had money in my bank account. Was thinking about going back to school, but wasn't sure. And I'm like, wait a minute. They took my war away from me. I'm going to make my own war. Common enemy is Islam. Bam, there you go. We got one of them. I remember talking to myself in my head. I said, yeah, we got one of them mosque places here in Muncie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bam. Boy, wouldn't it be something if I just took that place out, just like they take some of our stuff out, right?
Yeah.
IED. homemade bomb. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to make one. And so that's what I did. Over a 2-year period, I was piecing stuff together. I had nothing but patience. Matter of fact, I was biding my time because the first place, the Islamic Center here, it was in a house. They had bought a house off campus. We have a university here off campus, and it was in the middle of a neighborhood. I mean, it was like, next door you got this person lives there and this person lives there, and bam, this house happens to be Islamic Center. I wasn't going to do anything because too much residual damage there. These are Americans. I don't want to hurt them. That's the way I looked at it, right? So I still planned. And then lo and behold, they up and bought a building. Used to be an office building. They bought that and made it an Islamic Center. And I said, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So as I was planning final stages of dropping off, where to place, and all this, that, and the other, my daughter came home from school and had told me about a little boy that she sits next to in class. She was like in 2nd grade. And his mom came in to go see her, or to pick up the boy, to pick up her son. And when she came in, my daughter was just kind of blown away because she'd never seen anybody like this before. But it was a Muslim woman dressed as a Muslim woman dresses, covered up. But she didn't, she's a kid. She don't understand that. She's like, wow, man, is she like got skin problems or something? I mean, she don't know, right?
Brother, did she just have a hijab on, or was she in a burqa?
No, not a burqa, but
okay, just a hijab.
Hijab.
Brother, let me bring in Brother Sanford. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sanford.
Alaikum salam. Nice to meet you, Brother Richard. I heard about
Sanford, was you on before when Richard came on?
No, I was not.
Oh, you wasn't? Okay, all right. Okay,
I've read about Richard. I've seen his picture on Facebook. I've read about him, but it's nice to meet you.
You too, brother.
Brother Ziad, are you trying to say something, brother? Okay, sure.
Yes, something very quickly. Even though this is the first time I meet the brother, mashallah, in your show, Kenny, I've actually watched the video on YouTube with his rebirth story, mashallah. But it's yeah, I know the story about your daughter.
Did you watch,
very touching,
Brother Ziad? Did you watch the show on Consider This TV or a different one?
No, I watched it on YouTube. It was a different one.
Okay.
It was a different video. Yeah,
been on different shows.
Beautiful.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, I know. I didn't have time to watch that show, but it's nice. It's nice to hear it in person again.
Alhamdulillah.
Especially since he's told this story so often. But the blessings, the sadaqah for it, because every time you make a new recording of it, a new video of it, every time you do a new speech about it, there's people that are being affected by it, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. So it's sadaqah till the day of judgment for everyone who's influenced by your story, and see that a person can go from an extreme hatred where you actually want to kill people, to going to be a part of these very people that you wanted to initially kill. And that's a beautiful story. And so may Allah bless you, brother, for telling it once again. And Brother Sanford, were you trying to say something?
Just real briefly, you're in really good company, Brother Richard, because Umar was out to kill Muhammad before.
Yeah.
So I put you good. And I was just looking at you going, Osman has his white beards and now we have our white beard.
Yeah.
We don't want to hinder the story for long, please. Just Brother Sanford and myself are very keen to hear because we haven't watched your video yet. So thank you. This is the great opportunity to be a first-hand hearing. Thank you.
I'm going to mute myself.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah.
Sure. Yeah, so my daughter, she knew Dad had been around the world. So he probably seen somebody like he knows what's going on with her, right? So she comes home and she talks to me about it. She asked me. Well, I just went off because I was a bigot, I was a racist, I had prejudice against Islam, right? And as I was going off and throwing a fit because my daughter is even occupying the same space as these people, right? I just yelled out, I don't want my family around those people, which anybody knows anything about racism here in America, that is said quite often by people of my color, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I did that, though, she looked at me, and it turned something in me because it was like, that was the first time I actually considered anybody else in my plan, affecting anybody else outside of the Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
I never considered it because nobody knew anything about this plan. Nobody. Everybody that knew me knew that I hated Muslims, but they didn't know to what extent I hated Muslims. And so I said, I tell you what, the Muslims that are here, they may be those Muslims that I hear about. And I haven't met any, but that I hear about that are actually good people. I'm going to give them a chance. Change my mind, or else I'm going to dial the phone. And things are just going to go from there. Now, I knew I would get caught. I knew that I'd end up in federal prison, and I knew I would end up with a needle in my arm eventually. That was fine with me because at that point, especially at that point, I've lived a full life, man. I've been on every continent except Antarctica. I've seen people good. I've seen people bad. I've been poor. I've had money, and well, now I'm poor again. But that's a COVID story. So I've lived my life, and if I can do something in my mind for my country, that means everything. That means everything. Even though I would have probably been villainized there at first, I figured maybe 5-10 years down the road, they'd be building statues to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really what was going on in my mind. I mean, so this is it. This is it. So I went in and I introduced myself as somebody who just wanted to learn a little bit more about Islam. I'm not going to go in there saying, hey, you guys better be cool to me or else I'm going to blow you up. I didn't, so yeah, I was kind of like undercover brother.
Yeah.
So I went in there early. I went on Friday because I know that's when most of them would be there. And I walk in, and there's only one other gentleman there, a tall African American guy. He actually used to play pro basketball back in the 70s. And he looks at me and he smiles, and I look at him and he says, "Can I help you?" He knew I was like totally lost. I didn't know where I was at or whatever. And I said, "Yeah." I says, "I want you to teach me about Islam." And he just kind of giggled a little bit. He said, "Well, how long do you have?" I said, "Well, I got a couple hours." He said, "Well, we'll see what we can do." And I always think that's funny because 2 hours to learn about Islam. You live a whole life, don't learn everything about Islam, so it doesn't matter because it's a life process. So he handed me some brochures and stuff, which to me was just propaganda. But I took them and smiled and went on about my business. Sat me in the back of the room where we have the benches, which I used to tell people those are for people who want to visit or older gentlemen that can't get up and get down off the floor much anymore, or like me after leg day. That's what I tell people. So I sat back, I listened to the sermon. I was like, man, that's really good. They're only saying that because I'm here, though. I know the deal. So after that, I was introduced to another gentleman, closer to my own age. We're talking over 10 years ago. So, we go into the library area and we start talking. He says, "Hey, I got a question. You ever read the Quran?" I was like, I wanted to say, "Are you serious, dude?" But I said, "No, actually, I haven't." So he went and he gave me a Quran. And this is some of the best advice I can give any Muslim when dealing with a non-Muslim that has questions. Give them a copy of the Quran in their language and tell them to come back and see you when they got questions.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's awesome, man. And that's exactly what he told me. And I have kept that with me and told people that time and time again. And I hope they've taken advantage of that knowledge. But so,
brother, let me ask you something right there. Let me ask you just briefly. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to know, do you remember what translation of the Quran that you received?
Well, it was a hardback, and it had the Arabic transliteration and English.
Okay, probably Yusuf Ali. Or,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that. Just curious about that. Okay, go ahead, brother.
So I did exactly what he said because I was very serious about this because this was serious to me. I mean, this was not just I don't like you, I'm gonna kill you kind of thing. This was serious because I knew that I would be giving up my own life to do this. So I need to make this count. So I went back with the attitude that I'm going to find the stuff that I'm talking about that has made me mad and has made where I can get the proof that I need that what I have planned is right. And I would find stuff in there and I'd be like, yeah, kill all the non-believers. Bam, I got them. So I went back and I said, explain that. And they did. And it's like, oh, yeah. Oh, there's something like that in the Bible too, isn't there? Yeah, okay. All right. I'll be back. So I just kept reading and kept searching. And then I come upon 5:32. This is what really started the change. Surah 5, 32nd ayah, where it talks about to save a human life is to save all of humanity. To take a human life is as if it killed all of humanity. And this hit me. This hit me. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, my experience with Muslims is they wanted to kill me. Because that's what I saw. Because I didn't see them as people, as soldiers. I saw them as Muslims. That's what I saw them as. So I'm reading that and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Obviously, I mean, this is their book. This is what they try to live their life by as close as possible, man. This is it. But they're doing that, which is against this. Not the most smartest person in the world, but it was easy to figure out that those people don't represent Islam. So I don't have a true idea what Islam is. Wow. So then I keep reading. I come across things, the Bible does the same thing. What the American military has titled the rules of or the laws of land warfare. It's your rules, how you conduct yourself in combat. You don't hurt women. You don't hurt children. You don't hurt the elderly. You don't destroy religious buildings. Okay, religious, not Muslim, religious. That's what it says. I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen those guys do all that within an hour. Again, obviously, they don't represent Islam. They represent something totally else, something else. They can call themselves Muslims all they want to. I can call myself a millionaire. Don't make it true. Okay?
That's right.
And that's on them. I'm not saying they're not Muslim because I can't say that, but I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. I can say whatever. So as I kept reading, I kept learning. And that's when the words of the Quran actually started coming into my heart more, and the anger started going away.
Alhamdulillah.
8 weeks from the first day I stepped foot in that building, I went in to take Shahada.
Allahu Akbar.
8 weeks.
Allah.
And so this really magnifies the whole meaning of Allah's planning. You know, because he knew me, he knew how my mind worked, and I only lived in extremes. It's either black or white. That's it. And so in order for him to make me who he wanted me to be, I had to be all the way over here and want to do all this death and destruction before I can come back over here where he wanted me.
And brother, let me touch on something just briefly, because we have someone in the chat who runs his own talk show on Patriot Radio, and obviously you touched on the fact that you felt that eventually, based on what your plan was to bomb a masjid, that they're going to think you're a patriotic hero at some point, and erect statues, with your image. And so, for the moderators in the chat and everyone in the panel and so forth, this individual is in the chat right now, and he's making these derogatory comments. Okay, but he's the very type of person that needs to hear a person like Brother Richard McKinney, because Richard McKinney was even worse than him in that he planned to go and bomb a masjid. 8 weeks later, things change. He becomes a Muslim. He eventually becomes the president of that masjid. And so, brother, you mentioned chapter 5 of the Quran earlier, ayah 32, and it says quite clearly, it says, it's already been revealed to the children of Israel that if you take one life, it's as if you've taken all of humankind. If you save one life, it's as if you've saved all of humankind. He tried to make an issue out of it. But the Quran is bringing this example to humanity by reminding people what was stated to the children of Israel. So what people try to do, they try to claim that the Quran was plagiarized from the Jewish scriptures and so forth, and that's not the case. But these type of I wanted to interrupt you just to let people know in the chat that these type of people with this type of mentality are the very people that need to hear this. And I wanted to touch on it right after you said what you last stated, Brother Richard, that Allah had a plan for you to go from this extreme to now being a one who propagates Islam and shares Islam, and a da'i, and one who does speeches, calling people to Islam. So it was a plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for these things to take place. So we know that Allah calls to Islam those whom He chooses, and it could very well be that the individual, who knows, only Allah knows, but the individual that's in the chat, the people who come to the show and they make these derogatory comments and they're talking about things that they really have no knowledge of, it could be that Allah is using platforms such as this to guide those people and plant seeds. But on the day of judgment, whether they accept Islam or they don't accept Islam, one thing's for sure is going to happen. On the day of judgment, they're going to be reminded of everything that they've done in this life, all that you've revealed and all that you've concealed, all the hatred in your heart and all the love that you've tried to demonstrate. So I encourage everyone to be patient. Let the haters talk. Let the Islamophobes talk. Let them use this their limited knowledge to prove exactly that they're operating on limited knowledge. And let's use this opportunity to let the stories like Brother Richard's affect these people, inshallah. So that requires patience. Allah says quite clearly in the Quran that the disbelievers are a test for the believers. So we got to be patient and try to endure that to the best of our ability. So let them talk, let them listen, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide those whom He chooses. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yeah. I don't mean to interrupt you, Brother Richard, but I thought
No. That's a very good point, because we want to be heard. We want people to listen to us. Well, absolutely. There's two sides to that. We got to be able to be the bigger person and listen to them too. Even though we might feel or know, I'm not even going to legitimize either one of those, but that we know and feel what they are spewing is hatred and ignorance. It doesn't matter, because to be honest with you, they think the same thing's coming out of my mouth. So in saying that, we got to be able to come together to mutually say, okay, well, and this is why I love Al-Kafirun, Surah Al-Kafirun.
Yeah.
I actually kind of believe that's mislabeled. It's always been misthought of. You know, as describing what a non-believer is. I don't really think it's about that. To me, in my heart, when I read it, and I've read it several times and dug into it, it talks about coexistence. You go your way, I go my way. We don't believe the same thing. Hey, okay, high five. See you later. You know, it's all good. And that's why, you know, I mean, we have that lesson in the Quran, and it tells us that. It doesn't say anything about, oh, I'm gonna cut your head off because you don't believe the way I believe. It doesn't say that anywhere. You know, but we have an actual surah, an actual set of verses that describe coexistence, and that's what we're supposed to do. So I can tell you how I feel, you can tell me how you feel. If we can't come to a mutual agreement, then I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree. But you have a nice day.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you know, and so that's what it's all about. Unfortunately, our message gets trampled on because, of course, you know, Islam has been hijacked by several, you know, by both sides, right wing people who want to publicize hatred using Islam, which you know you can do that with anything. Curious, you could do that with a Curious George book.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think they made something like it was like some anti-Semitic or something. I mean, it's Curious George, dude. What's the matter with you? You know, I mean, but so we can do that regardless. I mean, people have done it with the Bible, people have done it with the Quran, and you know what? That's fine because I actually like that. I actually look forward to people telling me that I'm wrong, because then that gives me another opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, very well said. No question about that. So, brother, you know, you went from one extreme to another extreme. So, you know, and you've touched on it a little bit, you know, in regards to us being patient and enduring, you know, what people say, and it's hard to do, you know, because we're human beings and we get aggravated, especially when it's constant and you're labeled even as Muslims, you know, Caucasian Muslims, we still get the not by no means am I equating it to what our Muslim brothers of color you know get, but we still get our own hatred directed at us. They think we're Johnny Jihad. You know, we're I mean, I'm sure you've heard this, right?
Oh yeah.
You're Johnny Jihad. You've been brainwashed by Islam, and you know you're led astray. You're anti-Jesus, peace be upon him, and so forth. And so, you know, talk to us about how to deal with that. You know, the importance of Dawah and maintaining our character. And we're not going to be perfect, but we should, along the way, try to correct ourselves and try to realize that, you know, the magnifying glass is on us, and we got to be mindful of how we engage people, despite our shortcomings.
Yeah, great. I just went through I didn't sign it. I didn't sign up for my certificate or anything like that because that really wasn't that important to me. But I just went through a Dawah training course with Gain Peace.
Yeah,
very informative. Probably 85% of it was a lot of theology and more intellectual type of thinking about, you know, what you are saying, you know, and methodology and stuff like that. But, you know, there's three big things I think when giving Dawah. And number one, know your audience. Know who you're talking to. Okay? You know, are you talking to teenagers? Are you talking to just a blue collar worker or a white collar worker? You know, because we're talking different levels here, and you have to be on their level, or else they're just not going to pay attention to you. They have no reason to, you know, because you don't interest them, and that's just the way people are. So you have to know your audience.
Absolutely.
And after that, have knowledge. Don't just go out there on the street corner and start talking about Islam, because even though all of us have, I'm sure every one of you have more knowledge about Islam than I do. But I mean, it's not about you having knowledge of Islam. It's about you having that knowledge and having the ability to apply it to what these people, your audience, knowing your audience, is going to be able to understand. What's going to make sense to them? What's going to be tangible? Don't start talking about a whole lot of, like a lot of people, Christians that I have come across on the street corner, talking about parting seas and this, that, and the other, and it's like, what's that got to do with me? I mean, so you got to make it tangible for people. Again, the key, knowing your audience and having that knowledge and being able to back it up. And what I mean by back it up is not saying, look, it's here in the Quran. No, I mean, when they come back at you, because here in America, at least 9 times out of 10, even 9.9 times out of 10, the people you talk to are going to have a Christian type of upbringing, or they're going to be knowledgeable about Christianity, and that's what they fall back on. Okay. Yeah. So that's what they're going to come at you with. So you have to have that knowledge to be able to back up what you're saying, to show them that what they're talking about, we that's not really what happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard to do. That's hard to do for a lot of people. And of course, the third thing and the most important is be yourself. Don't go out there, throw on a kufi and a throbe, and stand at a table with a bunch of pamphlets that people are going to say, well, that's just propaganda, like I did, and just give them a sense of, hey, look at me, I'm a Muslim. No. Don't even, here in America, don't even dress in a traditional way. Put on a hoodie and some jeans, man. Because you're no better than them. Islam tells us this. You're no better than them. So don't try to be out there acting like you are, or acting like you're this all-knowing one. That you have this knowledge about Islam, so that makes you so much better, because it don't. Yeah. And when you feel that way, it actually makes you worse.
That's true. Absolutely.
So and that is very important. Very important. Just be yourself. There was a sister talking to me the other day about, how do I talk to Christians about Islam? And she says, I see myself on a recording, and I feel like I act like I'm talking to children. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I told her the 3 things, know your audience. And, I says, when you talk to people, when you talk to adults, talk to them like you would anybody else. Talk to them like you would your neighbor, because you need to show them more than half, I'd say at least 3/4 of Dawah is character.
Absolutely. Yeah, that reminds me, the sister that you mentioned, that reminds me of someone that I know, alhamdulillah,
it is. I didn't want to say her name.
So. So alhamdulillah, we've talked about some things, but brother, you're correct. And this is why Allah says to invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind words. And, and also it says to come to common terms between us and you. Okay. Come to common terms. And, I give Dawah classes, and when I give the Dawah classes, one of the first things I mention is what you mentioned, is that you have to be approachable. And if you start spitting out jargon and so forth, and changing your appearance and making yourself seem odd to these people, that's exactly how they're going to perceive you. Right. But if you present yourself, I always tell people, look, if you see someone walking by, or you talk to them and you see that they have a Dallas Cowboy hat on, or whatever, the Philadelphia Eagles or whoever, just, you might want to, that's an opportunity to open up conversation with them on common ground, about something that's not necessarily religious, It's not that's not religious at all. So open up a conversation with them in common terms, and just so they can be personable and be approachable. Main thing is be approachable. But we got to apply that same logic not only in person but also online. Whenever we're online and we're in these groups and we're trying to make our point and we're getting caught up in the emotion of it and we're saying things that we shouldn't say, or when we're engaging in discussions live. I mean, this is something we all learn from. Me first and foremost, because sometimes you get caught up in the emotion of it, and the aggravation sets in, and then you start getting out of character and you start stepping outside of what we are guided to actually do. And it makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for you as an individual, and it's a bad representation of Islam.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
But yeah, if somebody walked up to me with Dallas Cowboys hat on, I probably wouldn't talk to him anyway.
I totally agree.
I'm just kidding.
If they have a Houston Texans hat on, we're gonna talk. But no, I don't mess with those Cowboys.
So, but yeah, and it's about that whole being personal thing. The one thing that I try to keep in mind whenever I talk to somebody that is either against Islam or is just coming at me with questions, because they're interested in learning. I always make sure that my attitude projects that I'm not there to turn them into Muslims. I'm there just to answer their questions and give them knowledge about what Islam is, because we all know that's between them and Allah.
Yeah.
So I'm just there to spread the knowledge. If they become Muslims out of that, well, alhamdulillah. But that doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't. It's all about making sure that the knowledge that they get is knowledge that is there with no strings attached. No strings attached.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole definition of the word da'i, one who calls people to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're supposed to do. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, convey from me even if it's one verse. But like you touched on, brother, you have to do that with knowledge. You have to know what the verse is actually saying, and then talk about that verse. But if you start talking about things you don't have any knowledge of, then you start sometimes you back yourself into a corner, and it makes things difficult. So listen, Brother Richard McKinney, are you interested in taking? Obviously, we're going to have some questions from the brothers on the panel, but would you like to take questions from the people in the chat? Maybe invite some people on in the chat and take some questions from them.
I'm open.
Okay. So brothers on the panel, Brother Ziad, Brother Sanford, Brother Muhammad, if you have any questions for the brother, go ahead and feel free to talk to him. And people in the chat, I'm going to post the link for the chat. If you do want to come to the panel and engage in the discussion, be sure to use a Chrome browser. You can use it on your cell phone or whatever device you're going to use. Use a Chrome browser, inshallah, God willing. Okay, so brothers, go ahead. Brother Ziad, go ahead.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. Brother Richard, just a very quick question. How does your family feel now that you've entered Islam, mashallah? And how long was this ago? When did you become a Muslim?
Well, I became a Muslim 10 years ago.
Mashallah.
And at first, well, I have to tell the story. So of course, I'm like most husbands. I don't tell my wife anything. Okay. And she knew I was reading the Quran. She didn't understand it. She asked me about it. And I said, well, I'm just trying to figure this Islam thing out. Okay. Well, then I come home one Friday afternoon after I took Shahada, and I come home and I sat back on the couch like I just got home from a hard day's work, big old smile on my face. And she goes, so did everything go okay? She thought I was actually planning to do something, because she had no idea about my plan. She didn't know about the bombing until the FBI came to the house, which is a whole other story, with bomb dogs. So that's a whole other story. So
wow.
But so I said, no, I says, I took my Shahada. She goes, you should what? And I told her, I says, yeah, Shahad. So, you know, as a just hours old Muslim, I tried to explain Shahada the best way I could, right? And I said, yeah, so I'm a Muslim now. She goes, oh, she just got beside herself. And she says, well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I am not putting anything around my head. And I said, well, you're not a Muslim, so that's really not even a conversation. So, and then another, and she goes, and then another thing. If you want more than one wife, I won't be one of them.
She has a right.
So I was like, all right. Wasn't going there, but okay. So, yeah, so she actually ended up taking it a lot better than my extended, well, my parents. My actual mom, she passed away, and she passed away without knowing I was a Muslim. There's a reason for that, but you know, that's a longer story. She suffered her last years very badly. So yeah, I was actually happy when she passed because I knew she was no longer in pain. So, but I do have a stepmother and I have a father still, and they had told me, they says that you are welcome. They said you are welcome in our house anytime you want, but you have to leave that Islam stuff back in Indiana. I don't even know what that means. Today, I still don't know what that means. But it had been, oh my gosh, probably 3 to 5 years that I went without seeing them at all. And they only live 3 hours away from me. It's not like I had to get on a plane and fly across the country. It was a 3-hour drive. That's it. But you know, I still talk to them. I still call them up. You know, hey, how you guys doing? Love you. You know, da da da. But I didn't feel comfortable going there because of what they said. You know, I don't want to be around it. Well, I don't mind being around people like that. It's just that I don't want to be around my family that's like that. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I still need to go pray. I mean, I'm not going to go there and start banging on the table saying Islam this and Islam that. Nah, that's disrespectful. I'm not going to do that. So when that video came out, you know, I told them, I said, listen, I just want you to know that recording I told you I made in New York, it's being put on CBS Sunday morning. It's going to be on national television. And I just wanted you to know, just out of courtesy, I didn't want you to go to the store and somebody come up to you and go, hey, what's up with your crazy son? You know? Yeah. So I told them. They watched it. Probably 20 minutes, half hour later, after the show had aired, my stepmother calls me in tears saying, we had no idea. You're welcome in our house just the way you are. So I was there like 2 weeks later, you know. So you know, I mean, they still don't like Muslims. I'll be honest with you, they still do not like Muslims. But you know, it's baby steps. At least now I'm allowed back in the house as a Muslim. So you know.
So, brother, before we go to another question from the panel, we do have a interesting question in the chat that I want to pose to you from blank blank, whoever blank blank is. He's saying, Assalamu alaikum, blank blank. He's obviously, it says Brother Richard, assuming he's a Muslim. Also, I want to welcome to the platform Brother Abu Yazid and Brother One. Assalamu alaikum to you both, brothers.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Abu Yazid, you there, brother? Okay. So Brother Abu Yazid he's probably somewhere out there in the internet world. Okay, so Brother Richard McKinney. So this brother's saying, Brother Richard, what's the reason that what reason instilled the hate in you back then? So what was it that made you hate Islam back then?
That's a tough one. That is an excellent question, and I wish I had a definitive answer for it, because I've been asked that since the beginning of all of this. That's been the number one question. What made you hate so much? Was it 9/11? Was it the wars? Was it this? Was it that? And I the best answer I can give, it was a combination of all of it. A lot of people have this impression that the military causes that. We have to understand something about the military, and I'm not downgrading the military. I'm not proud of things that I did. That's a personal thing with me, and that has nothing to do with the military. That's just personal. But as far as the military is concerned, they spent billions of dollars on psychological research, because you have to understand something. When you go into a battle, you can't think about things. You have to just react. You have to. And the reason for that is for you to be alive and stay alive and to carry out the mission. You can't sit there and dwell on stuff. One of the best ways to do that is dehumanize who you're going up against.
Yeah.
Make them an enemy. Okay. So even when I talked about, I just started recently saying the K word. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say kill. It was because I was just taking out a target, because I didn't put a face to it, because that makes it human. And I've made this point many times. You've heard people say, some of us, may Allah forgive us, have said it ourselves. Oh man, I'm gonna kill that person.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Why? Because you're a human being, and human beings aren't made that way. They're not made, the guy walking down the street right now is just not made up that way to where he would just indiscriminately kill people. Now, there's people out there like that, but that's because something's wrong. The normal person is not going to act like that, because they don't have it in them. It's just not in them. So what the military does is they instill this switch that is able to be turned on and turned off. The problem is, the longer that switch stays in you, it gets broken, and it gets broken in the on position. And that's where my hatred came from. That's all I knew, and that's what kept me alive. And you know what, to be honest with you, and this is very shameful for me to say this, but that's what I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hate. It made me feel powerful.
So brother, along with the military and, somewhat dehumanizing the enemy, the so-called enemy and so forth, and desensitizing you to the hatred that's been, that was almost planted there. Do you think that was you affected by any of the media, outside of the military, but any media that maybe in the propaganda used against Islam, did that play a role in any of it?
The media didn't instill the hatred, but boy, it fed it. It fed it. Oh, like a smorgasbord, like an all you could eat. Because of course, I was that. I was a veteran. I watched Fox News. I didn't like CNN; they were too liberal, right?
Yeah.
I watched Fox News, and what did Fox News say? They talked about how evil this is and that is. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it's Islam. That's why it's evil. That's what they said. So that was my circle, and when I finally did decide to go to college, I learned what professionals call the echo box.
Yeah.
And I've noticed Muslims do it too, about stuff about Islam, they put themselves inside this echo box, and they don't hear nothing else, and they don't see anything else except for their interests. And at that time, my interest was hatred towards Islam. So of course I'm gonna watch Fox News, because it feeds me,
Yeah. And that's all those issues. This book right here covers all of that. I mean, that's the purpose of this book, to discuss the hatred that's planted and then just continuously fed, like you'd mentioned, just continuously fed over and over and over again in these echo chambers, these echo boxes that you'd mentioned, that just constant bombardment dehumanizing and isolating a group of people, making them the targeted enemy, and just preying upon the gullibilities and the ignorance of the masses of people that really, they have been trained to accept a certain group of people as the enemy, and most often it's a group of people that they don't really know anything about. They just know that those people over there are different than we are. They sound different. They look different. They talk different. They dress different, and so forth. And they're not like us, so we don't want anything to do with those people. And it's a phobia. It's Islamophobia in particular. So, brothers Muhammad and Brother Sanford, Brother Abu Yazid, do you have any questions for the brother?
Yeah, just a quick one. Brother, going back to that moment, what was the core? What's the basic? What hits your heart, and you decided, no, this is the time. I'm ready for my shahada. What was that exact feeling, or what really makes you 100% prepared?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. Thanks. I've never actually been answered or asked that question, so of course I haven't answered it. So anyway, what it was when I got through the Quran and I had been invited to dinners at these Muslims' houses, and just got to know them, and we sat and we would talk about Islam, and of course I would talk and ask questions from a standpoint of just that guy wants to learn a little bit more about Islam. They didn't even know. They didn't find out till 6 months after I became a Muslim that who I actually was. And then it was like all in tears. They couldn't believe it, But so when I got through the Quran and I did my research, and I was very diligent about it, man. I was very serious because I wasn't going to school at the time, and I was unemployed because I didn't need to be employed. I had money because I just, because of the military and whatnot. So that wasn't the issue. But so I had all this time. All I did was research, and when I did that, the hatred was gone. Well, the problem with that is that because the hatred was so important to me, it was part of me, and I've often likened it and described it as that hatred being like an organ in my body, like like your kidneys and your heart and all this, that, and the other, and now that's gone. Well, that's scary. That's scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you wake up one morning, your heart's gone. Well, you probably wouldn't wake up, but still, that's a scary time. I was empty. I was empty now, and I'm like, whoa. I was very anxious, and I said, you know what? I just learned something new, something that is important, and I need to be a part of this. This needs to be a part of me.
Allahu Akbar.
So I went there, and it's funny. It's funny because I laugh because all the talk about convert or die kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That Muslims do. I went to the masjid, and I told two of the older brothers there, for lack of a better term, call them elders, and I says, brothers, I want to take shahada.
Wow, mashallah.
This is funny because your reaction, mashallah, right? They look at me, they look at each other, and they go, nah. They said, nah. I'll never forget that. Oh my gosh. It takes my breath away. But yeah, they said,
but brother, you were, of course, you were preparing inside. Allah was making you do it, and the plan of Allah cannot be better than a human plan. And how lucky we are, and then we are hearing your stories. Thank you for sharing it. And it's very touching.
So they said, brother, you got a lot more to learn. I said, oh, I won't doubt you on that. But don't we all have a lot to learn?
Yeah.
And they're like, all right.
That's right.
All right, let's do
Mashallah.
Brother Sanford, go ahead.
Yeah, Brother Richard. MashaAllah. I'm not trying to blow. I'm not trying to flatter you, but it's such a pleasure and such a pleasure, MashaAllah, to listen to a man who uses the brains God gave him and is objective and isn't attached to things in such a way that blocks him from exploring and from learning more things. It renews my faith in humanity to hear stories like this. It's a pleasure, like anybody, people, and the weird thing is, Richard, because people say the same thing to me. Oh, you were born in a Jewish family and now you're a Muslim. Wow, how special. No, it's not. No, we're not. The only thing special is what makes one person better than another? Piety and good action. What's piety? Trying to get closer to Allah. You wanted to just get closer to God. And you weren't going to let a barrier stop you. You were going to keep looking, jumping the man-made barriers. And it's it's like my heart is refreshed from hearing your story. It's like beautiful story.
Yeah, very well said, Brother Sanford. Absolutely.
Likewise. Yeah.
Let's invite, welcome, Brother Frank Anderson. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Welcome to the show. Brother Abi Yazid, are you there with us? Or are you still away from the...
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's Brother Abi Yazid. So have either of you brothers interacted with Brother Richard McKinney?
I've never interacted with him.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, sorry. I'll wait.
Brother Abi Yazid, what did you say, brother?
No, I've never interacted. I've seen some of his videos. I saw, him on network television, but I've never actually had the opportunity to speak to him.
Well, do you have any questions for him or any comments to him?
Yeah, I do have a question for him.
Okay.
Brother Richard,
Yes.
what's your view on how to? We live in a time right now where there's a lot of tribalism, there's a lot of racial issues, racial tension going on in America. I've heard some people say, certain white brothers and sisters in humanity say, "Well, I can't be Muslim because I'm white. That's not for me." So what would you say to that, and the whole issue of just the whole racial issue and tribalism in general?
Mm-hmm. Well, to answer that question about a white person being a Muslim, I would revert to the story of Malcolm X when he went to Hajj. Because before he went there, I mean, for lack of a better term, maybe you could consider him as being racist.
Well, sure, he certainly was racist.
Not without. I'm saying there was a lot more to that story than just outright saying he was racist. But but then when he went and he saw the truth of Islam, that there are no barriers, no colors, no social status, no financial status. He went there. Everybody was dressed in the same thing, hot, climbing up a mountain just like everybody else was. Didn't matter if he was a millionaire or homeless.
Right.
And they were all different colors. He expected to go there and everybody be anything but white. It changed his heart. It changed his heart, man. To have and that stems in a lot of ignorance. I know when I first converted, somebody said, "Well, why do you want to belong to a foreign religion?" And I thought about it and I was like, well, to be honest with you, brother, all religions are foreign if you want to look at it like that. I think the only one we started here was Scientology. We don't even want to go down that road.
Mormon.
And the Mormons, but even that still came from, So, so that's not really even a point to be made. So and then of course you can refer to the Quran where there's no white over black, there's no black over white. It says it right there. So
the fact here. Hello.
Good, Brother Sanford, go ahead.
The fact that he came for all humanity, that Jesus, peace be upon him, was the last prophet and messenger to the children of Israel, and that the seal of the prophets, Muhammad, peace be upon him, came as a mercy to all the worlds and the whole creation and all humanity. And so it's like that sums it up. It's like that's to say, like a Christian saying, why is that a foreign religion? Is saying, it's like saying you need to be Palestinian to practice Christianity because Jesus was Palestinian or something.
Oh yeah,
it's silly. Or to a Jew to say you need to be, from the land of Judah or something.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
It's like it's mentality. It's mindsets. It's mindsets.
Yeah, that's right.
It's racism on a spiritual level. That's
absolutely
racism.
Yeah, xenophobia and racism combined. Brother Frank Anderson, you have a question for or comment to Brother Richard?
Yes, first of all, assalamu alaikum to all of you brothers. I was wondering, I have a question. Brother Richard, once you took the Shahada, what were the next steps you had in mind? Okay, so how did you slowly start to learn everything step by step? So, you could give like a lesson to all the other reverts, all the newcomers who recently accepted Islam. So what are the steps what are the things that you would provide for them? Or how should they learn? And what resources should they acquire? I mean, how did you do so? In other words.
Well, mine was hard. I did mine the hard way. I ended up talking to people at the masjid, learning through them, and a lot of it was self-taught. I just got books, started to read. Even got even purchased an Islam for Dummies books. It's a lot of good information in there. I mean, it's stuff that I would never talk about. I ended up taking a course at the college I was at, Islamic Studies. I learned a lot about the different sects and, all of that. And it was a lot of good knowledge that I could use and I could process. I was fortunate in that aspect. Sometimes a lot of times for the brothers, especially, it's hard because I made the joke one time. I says, I said, I don't know what happened because my wife ended up converting 4 years later. Okay. And after she converted, man, all the Muslim women got together and they rented out this the party room at one of the complexes, man, and they had to she come home with like 10 different prayer mats and all kinds of stuff, man, hijabs and I said, man, when I became a Muslim, they just said, "Assalamu alaikum, have a good day."
Well, I remember this. Okay, like this is how I was starting off. So I would go on YouTube. There's this one YouTube channel I remember. It's called Prophet's Path. That's where, it's a bunch of random lectures. I just learned bits and pieces from there. And I would always surround myself with people who are actually following Islam. And then what happened was I would never actually leave their sides, to be honest. I would always be with them wherever. Wherever they would be, I'd be like, okay, I'm down. Let's go. And the only thing I would be talking to them about is, Islam. And the next thing I started doing was just, exactly how you were doing, buying books. That's all I actually would do. Like, I remember I was in college back then, but, the other money that I had, just, paying rent and groceries instead of all that, I just, purchased books after books till I got all my shelves full. I still have them. I still love purchasing books. I just can't. That's just me. I'm like, I just love surrounding myself with knowledge, just like how you started off, brother. It was hard. It was very difficult, actually. Especially when you're learning about the sects. I remember like when I started off, and then people started asking me, okay, what are you, a Sunni, or are you a Shia, or are you a Sufi, or whatever? All I knew was that you're a Muslim. That's all. There's no Sunni, there's no Shia. We don't believe in sects. I had a lot of people, even on my campus. I remember there's this one Indian, one Hindu who asked me this question, "What are you?" And I'm like, "I'm a Muslim. There are no sects. I don't believe in sects."
Yeah. I can't stand labels either. And it's funny because I was asked that once, only once, which is really shocking to me, I guess. But I borrowed a line from Yusuf Estes.
Oh, I love that guy. He's
and
great.
I said, I'm a fat white Muslim. You know, there's actually a site on, well, it's on Facebook, but they have their own site too, their own website, but it's called Embrace, EMBRACE, and it's a organization that comes out of ICNA, okay, and their only reason for existence is reverts. They have webinars, I mean, throughout the week. Just get on their Facebook, man, and you'll see this stuff. And like every Wednesday they'll have like hadiths or going over hadiths, and then every Thursday they'll go do this and they'll do that. And but it's all about reverts, man. And I can't say enough about that organization. I met, they had a booth at, I spoke at ICNA Mass in Houston a year ago, I think it was. They had a booth there, and I was like, so what are you guys? And the sister started talking to me, and she goes, oh, man, I know about you. And I was like, oh, well, yeah. She goes, so I told her, I said, I wish I would have known you guys existed when I first became a Muslim. Because it would have saved me a lot of work, man. So I mean, you yourself check it out.
Sure.
Jump on one of them webinars, man, because any knowledge is good knowledge.
Yeah, there's this actually. There's this one.
I shouldn't say that, but I mean, knowledge is good. It's what you do with it.
Yeah, there's this one brother in the chat. He had recently accepted Islam a couple days ago on Kenny's show. So that.
Oh man!
So, yeah. Do you have anything?
Jason Batson, come to the platform. As a matter of fact, Jason,
brother.
Batson, come if you can, inshallah. Come and talk to Richard McKinney. Yeah. So.
Yeah. What was I also? Yeah, I had another question. Okay. When you started taking baby steps, and did you ever face this issue where usually you have imams, differing in opinions on some things, and it kind of got you confused somewhere? Like that happened to me a lot. I remember I would be like, whenever I would go to my Muslim friends, okay, this is what I would say. I heard this opinion from that scholar, that imam, and I heard another opinion from this imam. Okay, so I'm not sure what to do here. Mm-hmm. Like, did you ever face that kind of issue? Did you ever face that kind of situation before when you started off?
Yeah, but I'm very blessed in the sense that I was able to just smile, shake my head, and go on about my day. My whole thing, and I did this a lot when I was president of the Islamic Center. After Juma, I would go into the library every Friday. I go there after Juma, and have it available, people to come talk to me. Okay. And just, I don't know, I can't fix it if I don't know what's broke. Right. So you need to talk to me about a concern or whatever. And they would come to me, cause, and I don't know everything. I'll never know everything. And that's fine. I'm fine with that because that gives me a chance to talk to people. But they would come to me with like, man, we can't do that, man. That's un-Islamic. So I turned, and I did this in the library for a reason, because I turned around and grab a Quran and say, show me. Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds like I'm kind of being a smart aleck, but I wanted to know, is this true?
No.
And if it is, then I need to be corrected, because I didn't know, and a lot of this came into play, especially with talking about the females in the community. I did a lot of things, a lot of the females were, I felt, taken advantage of, or, not given the credit that was due to them, just for different things. And I didn't like that. And so I studied, I looked into it, and I went back to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I wanted to have something to back me up, you know, and I found it, and I told him, I says, you know, when I didn't step down, but I didn't run for re-election because I was my last semester of college and I had to do an internship, and so I didn't have time to be president. I had to finish this degree, so I didn't run for re-election, but I nominated a woman to take over for me. And a lot of the brothers, man, they came into the library that Friday after the nomination. They said, "Brother Richard, don't you think that's a little bit progressive?" And I was like, "No, not at all. Actually, it's regressive." They said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What? I gotta keep telling you guys your history." I said, "Who was the first Muslim?" Khadijah. May Allah be pleased with her. You know? Who was the most noted scholar in Islam? Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. Right?
That's right.
And who founded the first library/university known to the world? A Muslim female.
That's right.
So
that is actually true. Yeah.
I think a Muslim woman can run this little masjid in Middle America. I think she should be all right. And honestly, in saying that, when I nominated her, she was the most qualified for that position all along anyway. Because she's been in the community. She's from Afghanistan, a refugee, but have lived in the community. She lived in caves and everything else because she was there when the Soviets were in Afghanistan. She's been in the community for over 30 years, very involved in local businesses, and she runs her own charity called Awaken, Afghan Women and Kids Education and Necessities. She's built, I think, 2 schools in Afghanistan through her charity, and you know, so this woman is more than qualified to do this job, more than me, more than I'll probably ever be. So, but they just didn't like it because it was a woman. But again, see, and we've gotten that way, and it's not Muslims, it's everybody.
Brother, you think it was more culturalism than Islam? I mean, obviously, these Muslims should know better than that. So you think it was cultural, or was it? What do you think? What do you think the issue was?
Absolutely, wholeheartedly. That it was nothing but culturalism.
Yeah.
Because once I told them these things, you know, they kind of looked at each other and scratched their heads, and they're like, "Well, can't argue with him." Because it's stated, you know. I mean, yeah, that's true stuff he said. So, you know, and I remember one time when they wanted to move the women out of the masjid and take their prayer area, which is behind a smoke glass, which I don't like either, because I don't like. I've always, anybody that knows me, I even called out an organization that I spoke at one of their conventions for doing this, because I don't agree with it. And that's where they put those barriers between the men and the women. Okay. Mm-hmm. Separation is done for a reason. Segregation should never be done.
There you go.
You have to be a part of the, you know, we expect these women are supposed to be half our deen. They're an important part. They raise our children. They keep us, you know, they take care of our needs. You know, I know, like me, I can't cook, so I'd starve to death. And I'm a fat guy, so that's not funny. You know,
there's this one scholar who said women are the backbone of the ummah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Where would we be without them? Yeah. So you know, so I did. I had to call them out, because I'm standing up there on stage, and I'm talking about, you know, Islam and being, you know, so loving and so caring and so inclusive. But yet, I got a barrier going down, you know, and it's like I told them, I was like, well, you know, it's fine. Women should be on one side and men should be on the other side. That's no problem. But you can get rid of that curtain, man. It doesn't need to be there. It's silly. And amazingly, because I thought maybe I better not say this, but amazingly, I got applause after that. Because the whole time I'm thinking, it's like, man, I probably should have got paid for I said this.
That's another way you're like Umar, because once a woman stood up and corrected Umar, and Umar copped to her. He said, "Yeah, you're right." He gave it up. He said, "Yeah." And then there's the story about the guy who was going to Umar's house to complain about his wife, You know that one, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
And then Umar, he heard noises coming out of Umar's house, and he turned it around. Anyway, but the part about a woman correcting Umar in a meeting, and Umar saying, "Yeah, 100%, you're right." And so, like, it's like there's a lot of similarities. You know, you were out to hurt, Muslims. Umar was out to do that, and then he became a close companion. It's kind of like the further you bounce, the further down you go, the higher you bounce. Like
we really need men like Omar now.
As I told you, the higher you bounce, the farther you go, the higher you bounce, or something. So it's like, mashallah, I'm loving hearing the stories you're telling. I like you just being honest. You're being who you are, like you said, being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
along those lines, I personally, I don't like the women being in a different area either. I think it is more culturalism. I have no problem with the women being behind the men. Obviously,
absolutely.
I bring this up because this past Sunday I was on this Patriot Radio with this character, and Hatun from Speaker's Corner was on there. She was trying to imply that Islam is so evil towards women and so forth. She's basically finding every little Islamophobic cherry picking thing that she could gather and giving her presentation. One of the things that she said during that discussion is that she asked why women couldn't lead the prayer. And, I didn't get to ask her this question because they kept interrupting me when I tried to engage her, as usual. But obviously, men are attracted to women, and women don't need to be up in front of the men being prostrated in the position of sajud. I mean, use your common sense.
That is total common sense, yeah.
So when we go to the masjid, the objective, it's not like the church, no offense to anyone, but we're not going to have our women up there doing praise dances and parading around in front of the masjid, and up on stage in various forms of attire and leg showing and cleavage showing and so forth. No. We respect our women. I said on that show that Islam places a crown on the heads of the Muslim women. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Therefore, in the masjid, we want to be there. We want to focus on Allah. We don't want to focus on the opposite sex. We don't want to focus on outside conversations and so forth. We want to focus on Allah. And if you have a bunch of men and women interacting too close with one another, then it opens up the door to some problems there. So Islam has a solution for it. We do have a separation with the men and the women. I think it goes a bit extreme, putting them being in a different area. But with that being said, I have discussed personally with a number of Muslim sisters that they actually prefer to be in a segregated area. Mm-hmm. They actually prefer it. The reason being is because they don't feel they want their own space, and they also they may need to nurse and so forth. They have babies, they have children that are also in those areas. So some of the Muslim women they actually do prefer that. I personally I don't like it, but if that's what they prefer, then that's fine. But the clear distinction between a man leading the prayer versus a woman leading the prayer, you don't have a woman bent over in front of a room full of brothers. That's just illogical. You might want to do that with in your own religion. Get them up there praise dancing and parading around in front of the church. We don't do that in Islam. Islam has a solution for that problem, and we protect our Muslim women. There are hijabi heroes. Alhamdulillah. So I see brother Juan has actually come back to the show.
Yeah, sorry. I had some issues. Yeah, but that's a good point, Kenny. Like, we look at Christianity, it even says the women, cannot lead in churches. They need to, simple put, in their own verses, it said that women need to shut up. Yeah, in the Bible itself. And if we see at the Protestants, for example, they clearly do not uphold this commandment of God, but the Catholics actually do. And that we have a good example that women should not lead the prayer because people are going to be distracted, and that's not what's prayer. Prayer is for Allah, and we all should focus on the prayer itself, and it's a good solution for a lot of problems.
Absolutely. The fact that this Hatun is well known for being out there at Speaker's Corner. She's the one with the voice, if people recognize who that is. But for her to say such such an absurd comment about that, it's mind-boggling. The people hear something like that. It's so illogical, we're in a place of prayer. We're in a house of God, and men and women are men and women. They're gonna interact with one another if you give them the opportunity.
Sure.
And so the masjid is not the place for it. It's not the place for it. And you most surely don't have the woman up there leading prayer, bowed down, in prostration with her behind. I don't even want to put it in a mental picture. You just don't do that. You don't do that. Alhamdulillah. So I'm still a little bit aggravated because I wasn't able to address that particular woman the way I wanted to on that show because they continuously interrupt me on that show.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Hatun. She has been refuted, debunked, humiliated many times at Speaker's Corners by Mansoor, by Hashim, by Brother Darren, Brother Hamza. She has been making all these sorts of claims. Honestly, people all just she's a waste of time. Just don't bother interacting with her. She's been debunked and humiliated publicly. Even her voice wants you to voice makes you want to stay away from her.
Who was this we're talking about?
I was about to say about her voice. Anyways, it's awful. She cannot hear herself. That's the torture others have to bear. I don't know how she is so popular in that mob in the
she's there not
corners.
She's there not for discussion. She's just to heckle and stop people from getting invited.
She and Brother Ijaz actually and she was with another Christian, and Brother Ijaz was with them debating at Speaker's Corner, and Brother Ijaz just destroyed both of them. Alhamdulillah. It was embarrassing. Honestly, the one thing I don't get about these people, these Christians, if you're gonna be bringing up anything from any Islamophobic sites or whatever about Islam, really, you should be looking at your own scripture and telling us why is this included in your Bible? If this is
brother, and the thing is, I was invited on to specifically interact with her, and I was like, sure. The 14th chapter of my book is the status of women in Islam. So this is one of the areas that I feel that I specialize in when it comes to the position of women in Islam. I take it very seriously. And so what she did was it's obvious she's gone to these J. Smith websites and so forth.
Yeah,
that's her hero
source of information.
Yeah, and so she's gone and she just picked through these Islamophobic websites and just got all these points that are mentioned over and over again in the world of Islamophobia. But when I attempted to address it, and I did bring up the Bible, and I started, immediately I began to be interrupted and put on mute and so forth. So when Eric Smith is in the chat right now and asking why was I banned, I was banned because anytime you go and you present knowledge to these people, they don't want you to come on and speak knowledge. They want to continue to spew this poison and this garbage that they're regurgitating from the cesspools of their mind. Right. And therefore, you come and you try to clean that up. They don't want you there to clean it up. They're trying to cause damage and destruction to the garbage that's infested their minds and their hearts. And Allah says quite clearly, as for those who disbelieve, it matters not if you warn them or do not warn them. They will not believe. Allah has set a seal over their hearts and over their hearing, over their eyes as a veil. Woe to them for the penalty that they incur upon themselves. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So that's probably the last time I ever go to that show because it's a huge waste of time. And
what's the show called?
It's we don't even need to mention it, brother. It's on Patriot Radio. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yes, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam. Would you like me to recite those two verses from Surah Al-Baqarah?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم.
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah. That's such a beautiful voice.
Beautiful. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, very beautiful voice.
So, anyone have any questions for Brother Richard McKinney?
Yeah, I have a question actually.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
I remember you were like a chairman of a mosque, right? Are you still there, a chairman, or what's?
I was the president, and
Yeah, exactly.
no,
Sorry,
no, I'm no longer. I didn't run for re-election because of I was finishing my degree and I didn't have the time. And of course, now I work in the social work field. So of course, my time is just like, hey, so I never went back. I am a member. I am a board member on the Muslim Alliance of Indiana, but we don't. It's not a everyday thing. So that I do, but I'm no longer the president.
Yes, alhamdulillah. What are your future plans regarding like?
Right now, what I want to do, COVID has really changed us a lot in the fact of what we do. I was going, Kenny knows, man.
Yeah.
I was all over the place. I've been all over the country, and from January to March, I was gone every weekend because I was working, and I told people, I said, okay, things have slowed down to where I don't need to be in 3 different cities in a week, so I'm only going to keep my travel to just the weekends. And I was gone every weekend, all over the place, from one side of the country to the other, and but that all came to a standstill because of COVID. But then the craziness that's going on right now, and it, not that I'll ever turn my back on talking about Islam and bringing about the message, but right now I think what we need to do is we need to get this nation back together. In saying that, it's kind of I don't truly, if you've ever done any kind of history research, true history, not like what they taught me back in the 70s in grade school, but this nation really has never actually been together. And I've actually stood up and I've made this, and this has caused me some backlash, and that's okay. But I've made the statement that the documents that founded this nation were actually a lie. And everybody's like, whoa. But you have to understand what I'm saying, okay? They were a lie in the sense that the people who wrote them did not believe truly in the words that they were putting on paper.
They were Freemasons.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Brother Juan, we're getting some feedback from you. If you're watching via Facebook or YouTube, just turn that down or mute them and just talk to us through the panel, inshallah.
Okay, I got everything turned off, but
no, not you, Richard. It was.
Is it good now?
Oh,
yeah, that's better. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
So,
they are actually Freemasons. That's
is,
correct. Continue.
My thing is, even though it may have been a lie, because we all know during that time and today, society does not look at all men are created equal. They don't. We know this, okay? It's a shame, but we have to, I call it we have to admit we have a problem, or admitting you have a problem is the first step to recovery, right? They say that in all the anonymous meetings, okay? You have to admit you have this problem, and then you can start to recover. So we have to admit we have a problem. And it's true. But see, I believe in my country, as I believe in Allah. But I believe in my country that we have this as a foundation. why can we not bring it to forefront? Why can we not start living? Because it's here. It's here. Why can we not start bringing it to the forefront and start living this way? It's going to take a lot of time, but that really seems to be my drive now. What I really want to get involved with, you know, I want to try to do something about settling down, you know, all this vandalism and all this aggression that, you know, we know that the protesters are really not doing. You know, they're because we got all these outside elements coming in, and we got all these. You know, we got the right wing people that are actually doing stuff. You know, they're attacking the protesters now, armed people. Now, if you have a protester, if you have, let's say you put a bunch of Black Lives Matter people and slung M16s all over, you know, in front of them, oh my gosh! But it's okay if these white supremacists over here are standing on the sidewalk with their M16s strung over their person, right? So we need to admit that we have a problem.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to do that. Oh, we're not racist. We're not racist. You know, I got plenty of black friends. Well, that right there tells me you're racist because you said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, just one final question before I go. So Malcolm X, rahimahullah, he believed that Islam was the solution for racism and division in America. Do you also share that same view?
Yeah, he actually spoke about that earlier, but Malcolm X.
Yeah. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, sorry.
Unfortunately, and we see that we have to admit that, you know, there's white churches and there's black churches. There is. Some churches, you know, they have a few black people here and there or whatever, you know, and I hate to say it like that because it really sounds bad, but it's true. It's true. And then we have churches that, you know, let's say I wasn't a Muslim and I walked into a so-called black church, everybody'd be like, what? You know, and just because, you know, it's like I don't belong there, right? When we all know that, you know, and Islam brought that to us and told us that, you know, Allah made us into separate nations, made us into separate tribes.
Exactly.
Yeah. All to come together to learn from each other.
That's right. Absolutely.
Why can't we learn from each other?
And what's interesting, before we go to Brother Sanford, I also want to welcome Brother Musa Ibn James, Marshall Gregory. Assalamu alaikum, brother. We'll get to you in 1 second after we go to Brother Sanford. But what's interesting with the racists and the xenophobes and those types of people is that they don't have any problem when they go into these other people's restaurants and eat their food.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
They want to go eat all the Chinese food and the Mexican food and so, you know, on and on. But they don't want to associate with the people, and it's very odd and very strange. Brother Marshall Berry, assalamu alaikum.
The same applies. Yeah,
go to Brother Sanford and
then actually Brother Marshall for the Nation of Islam. You know, same thing. You
know. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So, Brother Sanford, go ahead, brother.
Yes, Brother Richard, I have a turnkey movement for you. I have a turnkey movement for human rights for you.
Okay.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It just came to me today because in the last, 24, 36 hours, it has come out that Trump knew all about the virus back in January.
Oh, yeah.
He lied to everybody. And he said, I didn't want to create a panic. Yeah. It's true. But the second part of that sentence is the second definition of panic is what he meant, which meant a financial crisis.
There you go.
He didn't want to create a panic on Wall Street. He doesn't care about panicking us. So here's the movement. Here's the movement. Look, this isn't about race anymore. It's not about religion anymore. He's hitting everybody where we breathe. Black, white supremacists, Black Lives Matter, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist. He's putting all of our lives totally at risk. Reckless disregard for human life resulting in death is a form of murder. 200,000 people are dead in this country because he didn't step on the gas when he heard about this, okay, because he was trying to keep the numbers right. So I saw this T-shirt that said, hey, I'm breathing over here. And every single human being can have this shirt. And it can be like to get this thing straightened out once and for all. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's like this. And what blows me away is I can understand one crazy person like Trump, but I just tuned in Michigan. He's got thousands of people watching him still, and they're putting all those people, their lives are. So the only thing I can think is maybe too much high fructose corn syrup or preservatives have clogged their system.
Well, he eats McDonald's every day.
Or Allah put a veil over their eyes. Right. But this human movement of the whole human race having this thing in common about we have a person in the White House who put all of our lives at risk. Everyone's life at risk. So there it is. Do whatever you want to do. Hey, I'm breathing over here. Hey, Trump, I'm breathing over here.
What a great T-shirt! That's a great idea.
Somebody, I don't have the means motive. I have the motive, but I don't have the means or the opportunity. So if somebody else want to do this, go for it.
Yeah. I like so let's welcome Brother Mehraz. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Kenny. Thank you.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to you, brother. So, do you have a question or a comment for Brother Richard McKinney?
Let me gather my thoughts here, and then
okay.
Maybe I'll.
Okay, sure.
I've got a thought here, a little small thought. I will not take too long. While we were talking about black churches and the white churches and all this stuff, if we look at Islam, just look at the panel. I'm looking at panel. How many colors are there? And this is the symbol of Islam. Brother Ziad is nodding head. He's in Greece. I'm sitting in Australia. You guys are sitting in America. We have so many different colors. And joining us right in the middle is Brother Abu Ziyad. Abu Yazid. And Abu Yazid is he's much darker than me. So we have all colors sitting here. And look at this is the reason why Islam has to make us all together.
That's right. So for all the Islamic folks out there, this is Islam.
This is Islam.
Yep. There it is, right before your eyes. That is Islam. Welcome to the show, Brother Musa Ibn James, who happens to be in Florida right now. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's my brothers doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So, brother, do you have a question or a comment for Brother Richard McKinney?
No, not really. I mean, we talking, so I just want to give him a salam and want to know how he's been doing, you know?
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I've interacted before, so I know you know who he is.
I've been doing good, brother. I'm having surgery tomorrow on my shoulder, so.
Alhamdulillah. I said dua for you, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So, does anyone else have a comment or a question for Brother Richard McKinney?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what Brother Richard was talking about racism and how Islam is a solution. There's a verse from the Quran that he did mention. It's in chapter 49, Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13. The verse says, "O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted." So I was, like contemplating on this verse. I'm thinking about, okay, during the golden age of Islam, which was when, somewhere from the 7th century or the 8th century all the way to the 14th century, Muslims were ahead of everyone in this world. They were at the top of their peak, economically, financially, scientifically, militarily, politically, all other means. They were at the top. So, and even non-Muslims from nearby lands, I mean, they came everywhere. They were flocking into the Muslim lands from everywhere, and as a result, even many people probably accepted Islam. Some people who even came from Greece. Started writing everything, taking their notes in Arabic actually instead of Greek language. So this, and nowadays, I'm thinking, now we have a lot of racial issues even within the Ummah as well. Sometimes, I see Muslims are when it comes to marriage, for example, they don't want actually another person from another culture, another race. like, no, it has to be within our group, within our culture, within our people. I mean, this is like I say, it's pure nonsensical. I'm like, really? This?
It's old thought, brother. It's old thought. I'm married to somebody from totally different culture, totally different religion, and I was so happy that I've done in my life this. My wife is from Philippine culture. She was a great Catholic, and Alhamdulillah, she has joined the party of a team, Allah team, as well. And I'm very blessed, and that my children are beautiful because we are from two different culture, or even two different countries or nationalities. But Alhamdulillah, Allah join everybody together. And I'm very blessed as well, like Brother Richard, that my wife see our life in Islam. Though I'm not claiming to be a great or good Muslim, but the way of Islam she has seen, and she has joined me as well in the same path of Islam. Alhamdulillah. And those are cultural stuff, Brother Frank. We are talking about. They were old stories, came from a subcontinent in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh. Probably this is very old thought school.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about taking time again.
Throughout the ages, that's been going on, and that's just something
Yeah.
It really, I mean, my stepbrother is white, and he is he's married to a black woman. And it's funny because that was very hard for my parents to accept. Well, the best way to answer about my parents is they're Trump supporters. So let's just leave it at that. And but that was a big deal in my family back then. And they came to me. This is long before I became a Muslim. They came to me because I was going home on leave. I was in the military. I was going home on leave to visit, and they said, "Well, Doug's going to be here with his girlfriend." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, I kind of wanted to meet her." Well, we just wanted to let you know that she's black. Now we're on the phone. This is really funny because we're on the phone. Nobody else is there, but they still have to whisper, "She's black." And I'm like, I kind of paused, and I was like, "Okay, well, all right." And
thank you.
Like, well, we didn't know if you had a problem with that or not. Like,
thank you, Brother Abu Yazid. Thank you, brother Yazid, because you let everybody see who we are look like. So you completed us to show your color as well, and I'm very proud of you that you let us see your camera. Thank you very much for being around us as well, because you are a genuine, a real good scholar of your, knowledge and scholar as well. MashaAllah, I admire your knowledge as well. And thank you for being around us.
And speaking of black wives, my grandfathers, both of my grandfathers, would have been shocked. So they would have been shocked. No question about it. Matter of fact, literally, I seen one of my grandfathers. I seen a man bring him and hand him an application to join the Ku Klux Klan in Pasadena, Texas. Yeah, I was about 18, maybe 19 years old when I seen that transpire, and he wasn't he wasn't interested in racial integration, to say the least.
Kenny, are you starting a new organization called Black?
That's what I was about to say.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Your wife will like that. She'll like that one.
That's something that came up to me. When somebody came up to me and they said, "Well, I don't understand. This whole big deal about Black Lives Matter. All lives matter."
Yes.
Right.
And so I looked at her and I said, "You know what? I agree with you, but we can't legitimately say all lives matter until we can say Black Lives Matter. And right now we can't say Black Lives Matter because the current events show us that as a whole society doesn't feel that way. So until we can say Black Lives Matter, all lives don't matter."
Right.
Right.
It looks like Brother Mihraj is saying backstage that he has a question for Brother Richard McKinney. Brother Mihraj, go ahead, brother. And also want to welcome to the platform Brother Jaffer. Assalamu alaikum, brother. And brother, we'll let Brother Miraz ask a question, and then we'll go right to you, inshallah.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for the show. I mean, it's really been enlightening just watching the conversation take place and a lot to reflect on. You guys obviously have a lot more experience with person to person dawah. What would you guys say is like the most difficult aspect of trying to reach out to other, I guess, Caucasian people in the United States? I always feel like there's this belief, at least within in the majority of America, of what is like normative values, what is normative behavior, and I don't think a lot of I think a lot of times like Muslims tend to over exaggerate the anti-Islam tendencies at times, because I think a lot of people are well-meaning, but they seem to have this idea of like, we're on this team and this team has these values, and since we're on this team, like we're always going to take these values no matter what happens,
Right.
So I guess like one good example of that is like, a lot of these Trump supporters, right? I know some of the people here have been making a couple of jokes about them, but in a lot of ways, like I feel like we should feel sorry for them, because they tend to be on the team even when the team is against them, if you were to like look at it from an outside perspective, right? Because they have this, because obviously they feel loyal to the team and they want to back the team up at any cost, even if it means that they're being hurt in the process of that. So just maybe some thoughts on that.
Let me just make a brief statement before we go to Brother Richard McKinney, and I'm sure Brother Sanford would like to comment as well, being that we're the Caucasians on the panel. But Islamophobia is real, and I personally, I don't feel sorry for these people, because these people are presented with choices. And you notice right here at this masjid here in Texas, you see all these people here are Caucasian, and they're standing outside of the masjid there, and they're protesting, and the sign says Islam is the problem. No, on the contrary, Islam is the solution. Islam is the answer. Everything is a test. Islam is definitely the answer. And these people are failing their own tests and trials by allowing themselves to be seduced and sucked into hatred and bigotry and racism and so forth, xenophobia. So I personally, I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the ignorance that's instilled in their minds. It's unfortunate that they have been betrayed by the ignorance and the Islamophobia and so forth, which is the reason why I write the books and we do the show and so forth, is because we're trying to break down those misconceptions, those misunderstandings. And primarily, I promise you, when I write, when I'm engaging in these conversations and so forth, who am I talking to? I am talking to white Americans that I know are Islamophobes, because if I take this kufi off my head, I look just like them, and I hear them say things when they don't know that I'm a Muslim that are so vile and disgusting against not only Muslims but the Chinese, especially when you have Trump saying the Chinese flu and so forth, and against the Mexican neighbors here in Texas that and so forth, that are they've been trained to believe that the immigrants trying to come over are full of are MS-13 gang members and rapists and murderers and so forth, and so they begin to hate these people and there's xenophobia. I do not feel sorry for them, because like every other person, they have an opportunity to stop and pause and reflect and think and say, why do I feel this way? I hate these people over here, but why do I hate these people over here? Have these people done something to me? Are they climbing over the back fence of my yard? Are they hiding under my bed? Are they in the garage, sneaking up on me? No. Why do I hate them? And so if these people are not willing to stop and reflect and ponder on those things and make a judgment outside of the box of Islamophobia and xenophobia, I don't feel sorry for them at all. Other than I feel sorry for them, what they're going to face on the day of judgment.
And let me take that one step further, Kenny. I don't feel sorry.
I'll just
in any way, shape, or form.
take a leave, brother. That's all.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum to all. I've got to leave in quick
brother.
question. Sorry about that. Assalamu alaikum.
Go ahead, brother Richard. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
So I have a hard time feeling sorry for anybody because there's always a way. It may not be the most glamorous way, but there's always a way. But with these people in particular we're talking about, I empathize with them. Meaning I understand them because I was them. And I consider myself blessed on in saying that because I can relate to them. I came from that because all they're doing is showing the amount of ignorance that I once had. They're showing me that. Now I can see what I look like. And it helps me to be able to talk to them. 9 times out of 10, they'll give me a minute. Just because they're still puzzled. Again, going back to races, here's this white dude with tattoos on his arms, and he's talking about Islam. He said he's a Muslim. What? Oh, wow. So, and that's all I want. Just give me a few seconds, man. And then if you don't want to listen to me no more, then walk away. It's fine. But these people, I really even feel that a lot of times they're brought here. Allah brought these people for us because we're the ambassadors of Islam, whether you want to be or not. Actually, that wasn't a choice. It just when you took Shahada, you became an ambassador of Islam.
That's right.
And these people are here for a reason. I totally believe that.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'll never feel sorry for them. Like nobody ever felt sorry for me.
I guess what I mean by like I don't know if I use the exact words. I feel like sorry for them, but I feel sorry because there's a lot that I think Islam has to offer to a lot of the issues that I think like the normal American person has to go through. And there's a lot of misconceptions about, like there's like certain like traits or aspects of American society that these people really take dear to their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, like firearms is like a very, very big topic in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Half the country doesn't want them, and the other half, like, you better kill them before you take them away, right? And in Islam, like, there's nothing wrong with firearms, but like, I don't think most Americans know that that's something that is a possibility or even a right within Islam, right? Like we have the right to defend ourselves. We have the right to have these guns, and even, in terms of like economic policy, right? Like there's this idea, like at least from the people that I've talked to that, that Muslims are liberal or economically liberal as well. And they don't see like I would say like if I was to put a label on a lot of the economic or oriented hadith, like they're very like libertarian and they're very they're very like straightforward, like a hard work's day for like the right pay, very fair system, right? And like I think like people have this idea of Islam being like this socialist or communist concept where they're going to come take your guns away and Sharia law, the boogeyman, right? And I guess my question is like, if you could comment on that, and also what do you think is a solution? Since obviously there is a huge media image problem.
I know one solution, inshallah, is for the Islamophobes to buy this book right here. Consider Islam disproving the patriots of propaganda. Matter of fact, you don't even have to buy it. Matter of fact, you don't have to buy it. Contact me, and I'll send you a free copy of it. As a matter of fact, because we're talking about I'm talking about all these issues in that book. Matter of fact, you see on the screen right now, the white cover is the second edition of the book that will be out soon. I got to get the book back from the editor at this point, but the book will be out soon, the second edition. But before we go to Brother Sanford and then to Brother Abu Yazid, just quite quite simply, I mean, the solution is for these people to do what I mentioned earlier and to just pause and say, and reflect and think, have any Muslims ever harmed me or in any way? Have any Muslims tried to come to me, either one individual or a group of individuals, and tried to force me to accept Islam or tried to force me to accept Sharia? Or do I even see Muslims out there trying to implement Sharia in the world? The Muslims in the world are less than 3% of the United States population, but there's people who have been led and trained to believe through the use of propaganda that Muslims are conspiring to implement Sharia and to try to take over. Now we've got 2 Muslim sisters in the U.S. Congress, and oh my God, the Muslims are coming after us. They're coming to get us. They're coming to take over. My life has changed. They're going to take my guns. They're going to take my way of life. They're going to tear down the church and build a mosque and so forth. I mean, come on, people. Come on. Stop and reflect, ponder, and think. Your doctors are Muslims. The police officers that are protecting you are Muslims. Firemen are Muslims. Teachers are Muslims. Your next door neighbor is a Muslim. Are they coming to attack you? Have they harmed you in any way? The answer to the question is no. But do you think it's going to happen? Yes. And the fact that you think that it's going to happen, you think it's happening now, actually, behind the scenes or in other places or whatever, you think that it's happening, and you think that it's eventually going to happen to you. And this is what psychologists will refer to as a phobia. And what is a phobia? An irrational fear or aversion to something that doesn't even exist. So you're in fear of something that doesn't even exist, or what if it does exist, it's not a threat against you in any way, but you perceive it to be. And when we're talking about Islam, we're talking about those people who have a phobia, and that is Islamophobia. And once again, I don't feel sorry for them at all. But what can we do is we have discussions on this platform and so forth, other platforms like it. We try to break down the misunderstandings, the misconceptions, try to be patient along the way. Alhamdulillah, we've got to be patient along the way in dealing with it. But just try to be the best Muslims that we can be, knowing that the magnifying glass is on us. Doesn't matter what color we are, what race we are, what nationality we are. If you're a Muslim, they're looking, they're watching, and the best way to demonstrate Islam is to be the best Muslim that we could possibly be. Brother Sanford, do you have something to say, brother? Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned the fact that I'm Caucasian. I might have something I wanted to say about this matter. All I can say is that ever since I can remember, my parents always taught me to take each person as an individual, never made race an issue. I never experienced any kind of racism or discrimination, except once when I was about 7 years old, I saw a sign in St. Louis at a grocery store that said, "No Jews, Negroes, or dogs." And I asked my parents what that was about, and they said, well, some stores have, like, they're full of hatred and they're racist. So I said, okay. And I said, wow, the Jews got top billing, wow. And I said, and that was 5 years old, and I still remember that. And all my life, I never thought about any of that anymore. I don't relate to the color of my skin any more than I relate to the color of my car. It's just the color of my skin. We're all human beings here. But the thing is that when I became Muslim, see, I'm white, I'm American, Jewish, college educated. I had the red carpet of white privilege rolled out to me, and I didn't even know it all my life. I didn't know what it was like. It was like the Prince and the Pauper. I never knew. When I became Muslim, and I started wearing a kufi, or I started wearing a thobe sometimes, or people just knew I was Muslim, wow, I got to tell you, then I experienced what discrimination was. I had a Christian come up to me and say, how could you forsake Jesus Christ? And I said, I didn't forsake Jesus Christ. Peace be upon him. I did what he told me to do. I looked for the guy who was coming after him. you know? And no, but a lot of, family, friends, social networks, all gradually changed. Some fast, some gradually, and it still is, but we're here to connect with Allah. This is a test. We're here for the long run. The long run is after we're in our grave and beyond. And we don't want to get caught up in this world and its values and norms. we want to remember we got to keep our eye on the prize with where we're going. You know, when you know where you're going, you know what to wear. When you know when you're going, you know what to do about it, how to prepare. When you know where you're going, you know how to prepare. That's right.
That's right. That's right. Very well said, brother. Brother Abu Yazid, go ahead, brother. I know you have some comments or questions that you want to present.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I have a question for the brother. What do you think, by Allah's permission, of course, do you think Muslims in the Western world, Muslims in America, need to do to bring Islam to the forefront, where people see Islam as one of the major religions in the Western world instead of just a religion of the other or a foreign religion?
Very good question. Do great good deeds and get media coverage.
Very good question, brother. Very good question.
Yeah, and and see that's a brother came to me. This was years ago. Came to me in the mosque one time, and he's a Syrian brother, and so he's what we would term as an ethnic Muslim, or it's a term we use here in Indiana. We have indigenous and ethnic. I'm an indigenous, right? And he came to me and he said, Brother Richard, he said, I got a question. Why is it after 9/11 and people have came out and said and demonstrated very positive things about Islam, to show that we're not all terrorists, right? And why does Americans still hate us? And I said, well, brother, I said, actually, it's not a hard question to answer. It's very easy, but you're not going to like the answer. He said, well, no, tell me, please. I said, it's your fault. He said, whoa, I didn't do anything. Exactly.
That's right.
You didn't do anything.
Agreed.
It is up to all of us, man. Like I said, I use the term ambassador, and that's not the what our football, our football fan, the armchair quarterback. It's not. Islam's not that. You can't play with it like that. It's not a toy that you just pick up and put down. It's a way of life, and in saying that, it's a way of life. How do you project Islam on non-Muslims? And I'm not saying I don't mean that in an aggressive way. But here we go back to the whole thing of character. How do you stand up to somebody who gets in your face going, you're a terrorist and you beat your wife? Well, I'm not a terrorist, and my wife could beat me up. so, I mean, it's a joke, but it's still, no, it's the way we project ourselves, being a Muslim. Do we even put it out there that we're Muslim? Like, a lot of times, I go out in public, I wear a kufi. Sometimes I got a shirt on that says Muslim pride or every day I'm a Muslim, right? So I kind of put myself out there, not for ego reasons, but to project myself, hoping that somebody will come up to me and want to talk to me. And they say, wow, man, he's white. Wait a minute. He's a veteran and he's a Muslim. What? And and they see that I'm not this guy in Walmart with some kind of 9mm strapped to my belt and stuff like that. Those people make me nervous anyway. but yeah, I'm a veteran. Yeah. Am I proud of being a veteran? Well, that's a long explanation. I touched on that earlier, but we don't need to go back to that. But and that's a personal thing. But the fact of the matter is we do dawah, whether we think we do or not, every minute we walk out of our house. Every time we do dawah. Not intentional. Because sometimes that's the best dawah there is, unintentional dawah, right?
And doing dawah in the house.
In the house too.
In the house as well. And very well said, brother. I mean, no question about that.
Because people they see me, Muslim pride. Oh, he must be one of them people. Well, okay, well, whatever. So, and because I have that on, I'm watched. You know, I get looked at, and people take note. So if I go into Walmart and I act a fool, or I'm wearing short shorts and a cut off tank top like a lot of people in Walmart do, and they're like, oh well, yeah, we'll see him on YouTube later. But, it's all about, and that's what comes down to to really the foundation of the whole thing is your character and what you project to others, especially the non-Muslims.
Brother, you said you touched on some very good points. It reminds me of Surah Ma'idah, chapter 5 of the Quran, and it's verse 54, as a matter of fact. And it says, "O you who believe, if any of you turn your back from Allah, Allah will bring forth the people whom He will love, and they will love Him, and they will humble themselves towards the believers and be hard on the disbelievers, and they will fight in the way of Allah, and they will not be afraid of the reproach from any critic. And that is the grace of Allah. He confers it upon whom He wills, and Allah is embracing the all-knowing." And so you said that you told the brother that he was the problem. And I touch on this in the book as well, in regards to, and I understand why they do this because of the Islamophobia. Will be more prone to step back and step into the shadows and kind of conceal their Muslim identity because of the same thing. You mentioned having the kufi on. I experienced the same thing. People looking crazy if I get a kufi on my head out in the streets. But it's even worse when your skin is dark and you look, like a stereotypical Muslim and so forth. And it causes some of the Muslims to naturally try to avoid the conflict by separating themselves from their deen. But in order to counter that, you should be more active in your deen. You should be one who finds a way. It's all of our obligation to give dawah in some way. And we give dawah. The brother mentioned indirect dawah. I always talk about this on the show. Long-term dawah, short-term dawah. Indirect dawah, sometimes direct dawah. But it's all of our obligation as Muslims to share the truth and the beauty of Islam the best way that we can. And the best way that we can is by our character. We start with the dawah within ourselves and say, what can I do better as a Muslim? What can I do when this antagonism comes against me? How am I going to respond to it? And we got to fight those battles ahead of time. We got to fight those battles by doing what Allah says to do. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read. Fill your mind with knowledge. Apply that knowledge, and be patient along the way as you're doing so. But on one side, I understand the inclination to try to step aside. But what happens is, for the people who are traditional Muslims, born into Muslim families and so forth, and I mean no offense to anyone, so I try to empathize with both sides of it, and so I certainly understand the inclination to do that. But what happens is, we in this world of Islamophobia, especially for the younger Muslims, they're more impressionable. When that begins to happen, sometimes these Muslims are going to wind up losing their deen altogether. They're going to become westernized. They can become westernized because the world is nothing but play and amusement, as Allah has mentioned in the Quran. And so it's much easier to say, I'm not a Muslim, and then you get caught up in nonsense and you start chasing things of the world, and you lose Islam, and you sacrifice it. This is why Allah's saying, in those verses there, in that verse, that, "O you who believe, if any of you turn your back from His faith, then Allah is going to replace you with people who will bring forth that faith, and people will humble themselves before believers and do dawah to the believers, and be hard on disbelievers if need be." In regards to trying to counter the Islamophobia in some ways, or if you had to fight a physical battle or whatever. And matter of fact, the next thing Allah says, or who fight in the cause of Allah and are not afraid of the reproach of any critic. Okay. We can apply this to to strangers. We can apply this to our own families. You know, that's part of the test. The brother mentioned it, Brother Richard McKinney. You mentioned it that, you know, when you step outside, you know, you're doing Dawah, or you're not. You might be doing anti-Dawah, depending on how.
Yeah, see, and that Dawah goes both ways.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I said that, is that you're still doing Dawah.
That's
but
right.
If I was to go to Walmart in some short shorts and a tank top, that's anti-Dawah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're still, regardless of whether you're attempting it or not, you go outside, you're always doing Dawah. You're always doing Dawah.
And
make sure it's good.
Something that I'm always saying on the show, that everything is a test. And I say this, obviously, a lot tells us this. Everything's a test. And if we wake up in the morning, one of my next books that I'm writing right now is this title, Everything's a Test, for this very reason, because as Muslims, it all falls back on the Dawah. We became Muslims. We see these different races and faces and people from different places because of someone else's Dawah to us. And, you know, when we recognize that, then when we do step out of our house, no matter what our attire is, it should be covered in hijab, not the physical covering, that too, but the hijab of covering yourself from exposing your weaknesses and your shortcomings and your sins to society. Because if they know you're a Muslim, they're going to use it against you, and in that sense, it's the anti-Dawah. Alhamdulillah. So, anyone else have any closing statements or final question for Brother Richard McKinney? Who's saying something?
You guys hear me, Jaffer?
Jaffer, go ahead, brother. Jaffer, go ahead, brother.
How are you guys doing?
Alhamdulillah.
I think this is a great topic. You know, I think this topic should be addressed a lot more, especially in the Muslim Ummah. As we all know, the first racism that we see in the Quran is when Iblis rejects the good with Adam, late man, because he's made out of clay, and Iblis is made out of smokeless fire.
That's right.
So you know, racism in Islam, of course, we know is wrong, and we shouldn't do. But I think the biggest hurdle we have as the Ummah right now is nationalism. Nationalism is a big issue when it comes to the Asian communities, and the foreign communities, where you bring the nationalistic side of them first before Islam. And that's how racism starts as well. Where you're in a masjid and you see, let's say you're in an Asian community and there's a masjid there, you feel out of place sometimes because of the way they react to you, or you see somebody different coming in. That's kind of issues are a lot of times, especially for the reverts, an issue.
Yeah.
Coming in. So we definitely have to address those kind of issues. But also, because of Black Lives Matter, I believe that is a big issue right now. I'm from Chicago originally, so I mean I've seen it firsthand on how black communities are handled, especially with police officers. But I think I think the organization itself is not what we should be backing up, because as we know, it's an LGBT community organization ran by 3 lesbians. Right, so the organization itself, we should not be promoting itself, but of course we should be backing up the Black Lives Matter movement when it comes to what's going on in this world. What Brother Rutgers said was actually correct as well, is that we have to do something, and the way we do that is by showing non-Muslims that we are in the community as well. I'm going to use some prime examples of here in Florida, when we had the hurricanes. All the churches were closed, but the Muslims opened up their doors to every Muslim and non-Muslims to come and have. That's a way of showing these non-Muslims that, you know, the Muslims do care about their community and who lives in our community, and we're here to protect them. And if you think about it, like non-Muslim churches closing down, that's a pretty big message showing to people in the community that, you know, wow, you know, churches are closing, but the masjids are opening. In Chicago, when we had heat waves and snowstorms, we had brothers in the neighborhood leaving messages at people's doorsteps, saying that if you need groceries, if you need anything, contact us and we'll get it for you. These kind of things, Dawah as well, but it shows the community that the Muslims are here that to help you in any way possible, if you're Muslim or not Muslim.
That's right. That's right. Very, very well said, brother. And that's, it's part of the deen. Allah's telling us this is the book of which there's no doubt for those who fear Allah, who believe in the last day, who believe in the unseen, who spend of what we provided for them, give us zakat and so forth, and who establish the prayer and so forth. So in all these ways, being active in the community, being willing to help out in times of tragedy and so forth, and being kind to the neighbor and removing something from the roadway and so forth. These are all ways to break down these misconceptions and these misunderstandings, but we have to be willing to do so. And so alhamdulillah. I see. Okay, so listen, we've been on for almost.
Yeah, my batteries are about
3 hours. Yeah, brother. So, Brother Richard McKinney, listen. This is a pleasure to have you on. I look forward to seeing you again at some event somewhere as soon as this COVID-19 thing.
Oh yeah,
settles down.
Always a pleasure, Kenny. Always a pleasure.
Alhamdulillah, it's a great pleasure to interact with you, brother. And I certainly thank you for doing it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and accept every speech and every video that's created and your story and so forth. Let it all be sadaqah for the day of judgment. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and for every brother on the panel for that matter. Everyone who said anything positive and constructive and, done so for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that, it's an opportunity for us to get blessings for the day of judgment when we do these things for the sake of Allah. I pray that Allah blesses each and everyone on the panel and everyone who's engaged, everyone in the chat and so forth. And so, Brother Richard McKinney, I'll let you get back to what you're doing, and we're going to go ahead and close the show up. And I do leave everyone by saying, Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's been watching. Please hit subscribe, like, and share. If you'd like to support the channel, be sure to click on the Patreon link or the GoFundMe link that's associated with the show today. We certainly need your support. Dawah is Deen, so we need you to join the team by helping us to keep propagating and sharing the truth and the beauty of Islam to the best of our ability. Any mistakes that we make along the way are our own. All goodness comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah alone. So, once again, Brother Richard, Brother Ziad, Brother Mihraz, and Brother Jafar, and Brother Abu Yazid, assalamu alaikum to you all. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.